Hi, everyone, and welcome to my 10 questions with video series where I ask virtual assistants all about their business. So, question one, who are you and what's going on with your business? Tell me about yourself.
Hi, I'm Ruth. I'm a virtual assistant from Bristol in the UK, and I started my business, which is Ruth Bruce Virtual PA, in November 2019. I'm married to Graham, and I'm a proud mum and grandma, and I have also a cat mum to Haku and Totoro, who are named after anime characters by Bath Cats and Dogs Home. I'm a data nerd, and my specialism is helping small business owners by streamlining their admin tasks and freeing them up to focus on their businesses. And one client said to me that my sort of superpower is turning menial mountains into manageable molehills. That is a tongue twister. And generally, I work with startups, micro businesses, and charity CEOs, and that's me.
Fantastic. I love that. Like my virtual assistant sort of tagline also came from a client, which was there just isn't an app for what I do. Somebody has
Mm.
said that to me, and I was like, that's brilliant. I'm going to use that. So I love that you've also taken what someone said to you and use that as sort of your tagline as well.
Mm.
Okay, so what did you do before you were a virtual assistant and kind of like what happened to make you decide to set up your own business?
Well, I worked in admin and project coordination for over 30 years. And I started my business when I was made redundant from my last permanent job. Before that, I had temped for about 8 years by choice, uh, because I enjoyed the freedom and the independence of working via an agency. I actually loved it. And it gave me a taste of what it would be like to work for myself. So it was the logical next step for me.
Yeah, that is a logical step actually. So question three, what was your biggest fear about starting your own business and how did you overcome that?
Money, uh, I am quite triggered by money. Money was short when I was growing up, so it's a big thing for me. But I contacted the CAB Citizens Advice Bureau for advice after I was made redundant, and they said that I could sign on as self-employed. So that really was a big relief. Um, After that, my biggest fear was the actual process of becoming self-employed because I'd never done that before. The paperwork, the tax returns, the responsibility, running your own business. But having your course and the support from yourself and the group really helped me with that and covered everything else I was worried about.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. So it was really helpful to have like a structure.
Oh, absolutely. I think most VAs, I imagine, work to a structure. And for me, having that structure and being able to work through the course at my own pace and having that support as well. So whenever I was needed to have an answer, I could either look in the group, use a search, ask question
Mhm.
in the group, and yourself. I know, like early on, I really kind of went scattergun. And I know we had a
Yes.
conversation way back then that sort of sorted me out pretty quick.
Good. I'm really glad to hear that. I can hear my dog barking. Can you hear my dog barking?
No, no,
No.
can't hear
Good.
him.
I can hear it. I can hear him barking. Obviously, somebody sort of walked past, somewhere.
Oh, you might hear
Okay.
a cat.
So,
You might hear a cat pushing the door open and walking in. One of them is obsessed with coming in whenever I'm on a Zoom with somebody. If I'm on a Zoom that's like a group one, he's fine. But if I'm on a Zoom on a one-to-one, he will come in and want to sort of sit on my lap whilst I'm doing it. So if a cat kind of
yeah.
Zoom bombs, sorry,
Good. Oh,
it's
I look
one of
forward to
those
it. I
things.
think it's always nice to have. I've got a very good microphone actually. I've got like a Yeti one hanging here, so I think it's just picking up me. But he won't
Mm.
bark all day. He's not really a barker actually. So of course he's doing it now as soon as when we're on the call. So
Oh,
question four: how has your life changed since you became a virtual assistant?
oh, quite a lot. I'm in control of my own career. I can hold. my own future in my own hands rather than have someone else controlling that. Um, I've become more self-assured. I'm definitely more confident in my abilities. I've got that feeling of being valued and respected by my clients. I mean, they basically wouldn't work with me if I wasn't good at what I do. And they tell me all the time. I can choose who I work with, how many hours I do, whether I want to travel to site or whether I want to work remotely. And because I've got more than one client, it means I've got a contingency in place. So when a contract or a project finishes, it means that my income is not hugely affected. Because I'm flexible, I can prioritize my family time over um, maintain my income whilst prioritizing that family time. And actually, I did speak to my husband and my youngest daughter and asked them what they felt had changed. And they said they both get to spend much more time with me because there's no commute. Because I was spending at least 2 hours a day just going backwards and forwards to work. And I
Wow.
think 5 years ago, me would be amazed at how far I've come since I started. I was not expecting to get where I am now when I started my sort of VA journey.
That's wonderful. How lovely. Are your children quite young, or
Oh,
they both live at home?
I've got my eldest is a mum and she's got her own home and her son's in secondary school. She's in her 30s and my youngest is in her 20s and she's at uni.
Right. Oh, of course, because you said that you were a grandma too, so of course
Yeah.
they're going to be a bit older. Yeah. Um,
Mm.
so question five, what do you think is the most rewarding part of being a virtual assistant? I know you just touched on sort of that being valued, I think. You don't get that so much when you work for a company. They just expect you to do the job and you don't often get to hear kind of how you're doing unless it's an appraisal, and then that's can be a bit scary.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so great not having an appraisal. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, my appraisal is whether people um want to carry on working with me. And the same thing when I was temping, the appraisal was basically um if they wanted, if they felt I was good at what I did, then they would keep me there. Um, but the rewarding part of running my VA business now is helping people, seeing them grow in confidence with my help because the admin side of the business, I think, is a little bit like the black box in an airplane to a lot of people, that they sort of it was always there when they worked for themselves and they didn't really have to think about how it worked and it's completely new to them. So it's taking that stress away from them and giving them time to actually sort of work on the bits of business that they're confident in and that they enjoy, and actually getting them that organization of their business that works with the way that they like to work as well and that they feel comfortable with, and so they feel more confident, and because they feel more confident their business grows. They're sort of more confident to actually grow the business, whereas I think that when everything's a bit disorganized and they're not sure about things in the background, then they don't have that confidence to build their own business. So that I find really, really rewarding. And also being in control of my own future, sort of building something for my family as well.
It's really interesting that you've said that. I hadn't thought of it like that in a way. So I guess because when someone runs a business, like they're the same as you, they run a business, you run a business.
Mm,
And when there's aspects of it that you are not able to control, for example, so for us, we like to do admin. So it's easy for us. We're
mm,
like, oh, well, why would anyone kind of, in a way, not be able to do it themselves? And so
mm,
maybe other business owners, if they can't get a grasp of that because it's sort of not naturally their forte, then they might think, well, am I a good business owner? Is this something I can do? They start to have maybe self-doubts, whereas actually it's just an aspect of their business that they're not necessarily good at, but they're amazing at the other parts of running their
mm,
business. So yeah, once that's
mm.
taken care of, then yeah, they're like, yeah, I am a good business owner because then they are literally just focusing on the things that they do really well. That's a
Yeah,
really good point.
absolutely.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that. Okay, so question 6. What is the most challenging part, do you think, of being a virtual assistant working for yourself?
For me, lack of confidence. The first time I went, say the first time I went to a networking event, I was so nervous. I really felt I walked through the door and it was like walking into room 101. And I was just, it's not my natural, I'm not what I would call a natural sort of person for socializing and stuff like that. So I really struggled with that, even though I'd actually attended events when I was employed. It's also a bit different when you're going there as representing yourself instead of representing an organization. So that I found was the confidence side of things. Um, but I do find that things that scare you do get easier over time. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And networking events, everybody at that event has been in the position that you were in when you first went. And so I think that the best thing to do is just get out there and do it. There's loads of free networking events out there. I say, I actually host one of my local networking events
I was just
online.
thinking, I was like, you must have got better at it because you more confident, I guess, and comfortable because now you host one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was the lady who hosted my local event, if I can say Ladies Who Latte. She had hosted it for about 3 or 4 years and wanted to sort of step down. So she asked me if I would host it. So and I just thought, right, why not give it a go? And I've been hosting that for over 3 years now. And I think that well, even though I say for so myself, I do recommend Ladies Who Latte and have done before I hosted it as a kind of starter event because there's no pressure in it. There's, basically you can come with a elevator speech or not is up to you. Definitely in the group I host, if you come and you don't have one, you can just do like a little bit of an intro of who you are, and that's it. There's no pressure to kind of come with numbers or PowerPoints or things like that. You can do as much or as
Yeah.
little as you like. I think as well, there are things, if there are things that you aren't sure about, like marketing, etc., again, I'd say get started. It's better to do something and not be perfect than do nothing. And later on, when you got a bit of cash behind you, you can get other people to do the bits you don't enjoy, don't want to, or don't have time for. I mean, we recommend to our clients that we do that sort of thing for them. So the same thing for us. If there's something that we um, don't feel confident doing or don't have the time to do, then
Yeah,
um, let's do the same thing.
I completely
And as
agree.
I
I
say,
know
cats,
there I saw, yeah, it all like you can't really see. It was sort of it's like a shadow. How lovely.
yeah.
No, I completely agree. I know some trainees that have said that literally their marriage has been saved by getting a cleaner in, just by
Mm,
because they were at home all day. It's sort of like, well, you're in the house, you can do it. Like, and they're like, no, I'm working. What I've also found as well, and I agree with you, is that you come across challenges when you run your business. Of course you do. Like
mm,
everything in life is a challenge. And you've not done everything but anything before. So if it's new to
yeah,
you, then it can feel a bit daunting. But it's new because you haven't done it before. Of course. So once you've done it,
absolutely.
you can. I found that every challenge that I've come up against, I've just been able to overcome by either asking someone, just by repeatedly doing it,
Mm,
or learning about it, or you've overcome every single challenge that you've faced in life so far. And I think, God, I think if people can like get married and have children, then they can kind of do anything. I think that for me, I'm like, how do people do that? And raise children? It looks
yeah.
massively challenging. I think running a business is really quite simple in a way you know, compared to that job.
I think VAs are sort of really suited for running their own business as well. I think the main thing that we have issues with is, I think, confidence, because we we want to get everything done perfectly as well, and that will hit our confidence, I think. And I think there are lots of people who start their own business. Well, people who, who start their own business with no idea of how to do the admin that's involved. And so but we just think about the admin side of it, not that's just, the people start their own business and they'll just say, right, I want to do this, I want to do that, right, let's get started and get on with it. So I think that is one of the things that can hold us back a bit from dipping our toe in and getting on with it.
Yes. Because you probably heard me say a few times as well, but when women have been working for a company, they're just used to being told what to do. They often have more admin roles or office roles. And so, someone tells you what to do in a job, and you've been in the job since you left school. So you're not used to being the person that then decides when you want to work, how you want to work, who you want to work with.
Yeah.
And that can be a bit daunting. And I think because VAs are really detail people, they're good at admin, that makes them really good VAs. But you also have to be a bigger picture person to run a business.
Yeah.
That's why I try to focus on that quite a bit in the DIY course. It's a lot about the mindset, because the actual ins and outs of running a business are quite simple, but the mindset,
Yes.
it doesn't come naturally at all. So yeah.
No.
Okay, so let's have a look. No, I can hear my dog barking again. What is he up to? So it's like someone lurking downstairs. I could strangle him. Okay, number 7. So how do you get your clients, Ruth?
Right. Mostly through networking. Because I had a look back at my little notes of my records on an Excel spreadsheet, of course, of how I got my clients. So yeah, mostly through networking. Then referrals, social media, use your prospecting email process that's in the course, and I've had a few clients through that. And sometimes former colleagues actually think about it, and sometimes it's a combination of all of them. I mean, I know recently, the original sort of go through your email or your former colleagues, family and friends, and send them an email and say, like, I've started up this VA business, and um, you know, just so you know, and like a little friendly email to tell them, and if they know anybody who wants help, to send them your way and all that. And I think I sent that would have been 5 years ago. I sent that out, and a couple of months ago, one of my ex-colleagues who'd started up their own business contacted me uh, through LinkedIn in response to that email to say, oh,
Wow.
I've got some work I need doing. Could you help me out with this? So yeah, I got some work out of that was 5 years ago, that was
That's
contacting a
amazing.
colleague back then. Yes.
I found that actually you can sometimes meet, I would have people contact me and they say, oh, so and so recommended you. And I think, no idea who that person is. And it was probably somebody I met a very long time ago. But
Mm.
you can only recommend someone if you know. So if someone says they need help with their admin, and you've heard of a virtual assistant, like someone actually does it, then people like to help one another. So they'll go, oh, I know someone. But if you've never mentioned it, they might never have heard of a virtual assistant. So they wouldn't even think to what to suggest, know what to suggest. So yeah,
Mm,
people have always done
exactly.
business through talking to one another. And I think
Yes,
just online social media, it's just because you can't physically get in front of somebody, it's just it's like virtual networking is just talking to people, isn't it?
exactly. Yeah. And it is a bit scary when, like I said before, going to your first networking event. But once you've got one or two under your belt, you do tend to sort of, they get a bit less scary over time. And actually, anybody who is worried about becoming a VA and then sort of missing out on the social aspect of going into work and being in an office and being with people all the time, that networking side of it can actually sort of fill in for that as well, I think.
Yes, yes, yeah. I do some co-working sometimes as well, and when we do virtual co-working in the All Stars, but it is nice. Some people really do like that contact with other people, and some people don't
Mm.
care too much. They don't get lonely. They find it very productive. But I do know when we do the virtual co-working, some people are like, I wouldn't have spoken to anyone else today, unless I'd come to this session. I think too with
Mm.
networking in person, you get into like a rhythm, you get like a little spiel going. And also if
Yes.
you, as I suggest, ask someone what they do first, then when it comes to saying what you do, you can match what you do to what they've just told you that they do. you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think you've got to get very good at listening when you go to networking, and it's not easy to be a good listener. And but I think it's better when you go to networking is to actually, like you said, is to actually ask that person what they do, ask a bit more about them. Even just saying, "How was the journey here?" to get started is like a really easy way to start talking to somebody, because I usually start telling you all about the traffic and everything, so they get a bit more comfortable
Yes.
with you. And
Yeah.
but if you get really good at listening to them, then yes, you can then address yeah, you get things to sort of feedback on.
Yeah, that asking about the traffic's a really interesting one because obviously, well, I don't know if you know, but I used to live in Brighton, so there was not really any. Everyone was sort of walked there, so and I didn't drive, so I didn't think to ask that. That's a really good question to ask because then you just start a conversation and people warm to you because people do business with
Mm,
people they know, like, and trust. So actually having a conversation about anything to begin with makes people feel that they're kind of not like your friend, but you're then friendly. You start off on a
yeah,
friendly foot. Yeah, I like that
absolutely.
tip. I like that tip. Okay, so question 8. What do you wish that you had known before you started out?
Oh, yeah. Um, not to yeah, not to worry so much about getting things that you aren't confident about or familiar with done perfectly. um, like marketing and networking. It's just going to constantly go back to marketing and networking because of me being a
No, they're the two
data
things.
person and a numbers person. I think it's better to get started and get out there. It's good enough. The worst thing I think is to just think, oh, I'm so scared to go to put anything on my social media and just the social media is just totally sort of silent. Um, don't worry about emailing people. Um, and I like say if you see somebody, if you meet somebody you really would love to work with, don't worry about sending them an email and asking them and having a sort of having a chat to them using that process. It can feel a bit icky if you're not used to it. You feel like you're being a bit of a salesperson, like a sort of ew. But I think you're emailing them because you've had that you've either met them or you might have seen on social media that are, they would really benefit from your help. And if you sort of think you're offering help, um, it's a lot it feels a lot more comfortable. So don't, I think a lot of VAs feel a little bit sort of put off by the sort of feeling like they're a bit selly. But I think if you look at it as helping people, it really does make a difference. And I have got clients that way and got some really great clients that way who would never have even known who I was if I hadn't have got in touch with them. Um, and I've always gotten leads through the various different sort of networking, social media, sending an email, etc. Though, even though one of my clients has said that I don't shout about myself enough. So
Right. So you must be doing something right. I think that getting
mm,
referrals as well is such a compliment.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I've had a few referrals and it's been a really lovely thing that somebody's actually got in touch with me and said, oh, so and so was worked with you and said you're really fantastic and that I've got this and this and this. Can we have a chat about it? And it really does give you a boost.
Yes, I think that's one of the main differences actually um, about freelancing compared to when you work in a company. You just don't, they kind of work you and they
Mm.
sometimes might give you a bonus for overworking you. But actually, I think a lot of people, they just want some appreciation. They just want to know
Mm.
that they're doing a good job and that they're actually valued and appreciated. I think as women especially want that, and that's really lacking, I think, in the world of sort of traditional employment. But when you work for yourself,
Mm.
it's 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 emotionally rewarding, I think, which I wasn't sort of
Yes.
expecting as much.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I it goes back to when I was temping as well. I because you're um be- yeah, you get that feedback from more than one person. When you're employed, you tend to get your line manager giving you a appraisal. You might get 360-degree sort of appraisal where they go and ask everyone in the office what you're like and what you think. But at the end of the day,
Oh,
it is one person that comes back to you and gives you that feedback, and it's sort of basically coloured by their view of you. And I know with when I temp, and definitely from being self-employed, you get feedback from so many different people, and the people who work with you because they want to work with you. So you get that sort of real positive feedback loop from them, and you get to
yeah,
meet
I love
some
it.
lovely people.
You do. Yeah, yeah, you do. Okay, so question 9, how do you handle work-life balance? Like, do you have a work-life balance?
Yeah, I do. I'm quite hot on that actually because I want, like that I got to one point when I was um a couple of years into the business where I was like really, really struggling to find the hours to fit in people who wanted to work for me, which was like a really great problem to have and
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah,
But
yeah.
um but yeah, I was like had one time and I was like saying to a potential client, right, I'll have to go and look at my calendar and see if I can squeeze in that extra 5 hours a month to work with you. And then so I got to that point and I was like, right, okay, I'm going to make sure that I, you know, put my own well-being first. And it's lovely to have so many people want to work with you, but I and believe it, and I didn't believe that would happen either. That it would get to a point where I had too much to do, too much interest. But so I so so if ever gets to that point, I have referred um potential clients onto ever virtual assistants because there's a virtual assistant network in the southwest that I know quite a few VAs. I did actually. I'm kind of a dormant partner now, but I got asked with another couple of VAs to take over a local VA networking that's just based in Bristol, which is a bit dormant at the moment. But so I met quite a few VAs in that. And also I also do put everything is in my Google Calendar. I kind of every meeting, everything, but I time block out family time. I use um I use Trello to manage task management, so I get reminders when I need them. Uh, I pace myself, so I'll sort of use the Pomodoro method and work use a timer. So I'll set a timer for like 45 minutes and then take a sort of half an hour break and then do another 45 minutes. I've got my own work area in the house, and my family know not to barge in on me when I'm doing stuff. And I've even got a little laminated piece of paper that my eldest laminated for me that sort of stick on the door that says, a kind of don't come in unless there's an emergency. And it sort of says, if you want a piece of fruit, go and get it out of the fruit bowl and things like that. So,
Genius at
so
work.
yeah, exactly. Oh dear, yeah. And the other thing I did was when I was first starting, I used Toggle. Even though I didn't have any clients, I actually set up Toggle and I put my own business as a client, and then I put each, like marketing, networking, admin, etc., as a task, and I would basically log it. So I knew exactly how much time I was spending in my business. Um, to build it. And even now, I still have that if I'm working in my business rather than on client work, I'll actually log it so I know how much time I'm doing. So I know that
Good.
so I don't kind of lose that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, because I think a lot of virtual assistants, they think that when they think about, say, an hourly rate, they're like, right, okay, 8 hours a day. And it's like, oh, no, no, I'll stop you there. You don't have 8 hours a day to work on client tasks.
No.
You've got your own admin to do as well. I think there's like maximum of like 5, I think I read, that people have to kind of focus on actual billable client work, which is why it's good to
Mm.
charge, retainers and project rates and things like that, isn't it? I think because
Yeah,
otherwise you're just going to hit a ceiling. So that does sound like you've
yeah,
got a pretty good balance. I suppose it helps as well that your children have left home.
yeah. I've got one at home. The uni one lives at home, but yeah, they all know. They know. Even my husband knows not to sort of come in unless if I'm when I'm working. If the sign's on the door that says like keep out, then they both know that you only come in if it's an emergency.
Yeah, love it. And finally, so what advice would you give to anyone who is considering virtual assistants as a profession?
God, there's so much that I've learned since day one. But I think my main one is your focus on your own well-being, prioritize your own well-being. You don't have to do it all at once. You can pace, remember that you can pace yourself. You can work through your course and you don't have to do the whole course in one day. You can do say 20 or 30 minutes a day even. Just set that timer, get started doing it, and then when the bell bings, then stop. Just be consistent so you can do so much a day every day, or maybe even like 3 or 4 days a week. I mean, when you've got kids running around, I mean, I've done work from home when my youngest was at primary school and onwards, and basically you just do it when you can do. You can fit it around the kids. If you've got a day when you can't do it, then don't worry about it too much, because you can always sort of, as long as you're doing a little bit every day, you will get to the end of the course and you will get there. It just means it might take you a little bit longer. So don't stress out if you can't get it all done straight away. And the other thing is, for things that are a bit scary, like networking groups, you can set small goals. So, say networking, go to the group, and just first goal could be just to go to a networking group. Don't feel like you've got to go to a networking group and get a client like on day one, because if that happens, then have a little celebration to yourself. But the likelihood is you're going to have to go there and become a little bit of a familiar face before that happens. The next one you go to, you could say like, I'm going to go and talk to one person, and that could even be the host. Um, and the other thing is, don't undervalue yourself. It's so easy to be undervalued when you're in an admin situation, because you are that sort of back office. We get called the back office. We're in the back. We don't get seen. We're meant to be sort of not seen and not heard. Usually when you're in an employment situation. I found that my partner's support made all the difference. That he, when I had a little bit of a wobble, he was like, "Come on, you can do this," which was great. That doesn't always happen. But you've got there's a buddy system that you run. And I've used that. I've met quite a lot of really lovely VAs through the buddy system. And the other thing is, I guess, check out free networking events. Get out there. There's so many free networking events out there, and everybody who's been in those networking events has been where you are now. So don't worry, you can't get it wrong. If the thing about getting it right is just go in there. You can't get it wrong by, you know if you sit on the couch, then nothing happens. If you go there, what's the worst thing that can happen? You just go there and sit in the corner and do nothing on the first one. Well, you have learned something, because you sit in the corner and watch what everyone else is doing. You always pick up something, even if you don't feel like it, you do. And I guess one of the other ones I'd say is, always double check your client instructions and confirm what you're going to do by email. I always do that, because what they think they've told you, and I learned this in project management as well, is what they think they want and what they think they've told you that they want might not necessarily be what they actually do want. So when you've had that conversation with them, and they've told you what they want out of the project or what they want out of you, do an email reiterating it all, what you heard, and send it back to them and say, well, this is what our conversation was, just to confirm this, you're happy with all of this. And then there are
Yes.
about half the time they'll come back and say, oh no, I meant this in one of the points. So, and
Mm.
like I say, there's so many everythings, but that's a few that I sort of jotted down when I was thinking about it.
Wonderful. That's amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Ruth. It was absolutely just lovely talking to you.
And you, thank you. And thanks for all your help over the years, because I really do appreciate that.